Hey guys, it's Andy, and today I'm going to show you how to use Revit to model a house from a point cloud. This is going to be more of a walkthrough tutorials type video, so that means I'm going to give you the same data that I'm going to be working with, so you can download that in the description below. And this is going to be more of an in-depth tutorial, so if you want to skip to any particular section, I'll put the timestamps in the description as well. So at the link below, you'll find a couple things that you can download. First is the Stewart House RCP file along with the support folder, and then there's the LGS file. And I'll explain both of these once we get into the demo. All right, so I've got everything that I need here. Here's my RCP file, and then here's my LGS file. So I'm gonna open up Revit. I'm gonna create a new project. I always go to architectural. And the first thing that I'm going to do is bring in my point cloud and adjust a few settings before I get started modeling. So what I'm going to do is go up to the Insert tab here, and there's a button to import a point cloud. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to be looking for an RCP file. So right on my desktop here, I have this stewarthouse.rcp. If you have a coordinate system on your point cloud, you might want to line it up with the coordinates, but in this case I'm just going to go center to center, and I'm going to orient it a little bit differently once I get into Revit anyway. So I'm going to click open, and now I can see my point cloud here. It looks a little weird. Basically what's happening is the point cloud is not set in the right position, so it's you kind of are seeing it cut the roof off here. So we're going to fix that in a second. But just to show you that this 3D point cloud is fully in Revit, I'm going to go to my 3D view by clicking this little birdhouse up here, and now I can see I have this fully 3D point cloud right inside of Revit. So this is super nice. So the first thing that I'm actually going to do is go back to level 1. And I need to set the levels on this point cloud. So if I go to a elevation view, you can see my level 1 is kind of cutting through the middle of the house. Level 2 is up above the house. And what I can do is just click and drag this point cloud, but this isn't very accurate. So there are a couple methods to very accurately choosing where to place the point cloud, but because there's the exterior of this cloud, I need to make sure that I can see the interior so that I can really dial in that line to set my base level. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into level 1. You can see that the level 1 already looks different because we drag the point cloud up. And I already know a little bit about this house, so I know that there's the ground floor and the garage is a little bit below the ground floor. So what I'm going to do is create a section using this little section button here. So this right here is the garage, and then this is the kitchen of the main floor. So I want to create a section that goes through both of these, and I want to flip it to this side just to make things a little easier. Doesn't need to be very big. But then I can go into my section view here. So if I expand this out, I see I have this section here. Now I can see a thin slice of the building. So this makes it much more obvious where my different levels are. So I can see the ground floor is here, and then this is the garage down here. So first thing I'm going to do is drag this point cloud up a little bit, and this is where I can zoom in, and I'm going to line that right up with the ground floor there. So that looks really good. The level 2 is above the ceiling. And then there's no level down here for the garage floor level. What I'm going to do is go to my architecture tab, and I can set a new level. So set a new level, and you can see that it has a little snap to the point cloud, so I can click right on here, drag this out, and then I'm going to call it garage floor. So this is below floor 1. It's a foot and 6.5 inches. It's actually, yeah. So this is likely. I would change this to a nominal value, 1.5 foot drop. So I can just do that, and then it just makes things a little cleaner. So you can see that lines right up with the bottom of the garage floor. Now the level 1, the 0, 0 is lined up with the ground floor level, and then I can move this level 2 if I wanted to. I could create a ceiling. But I might just move this down a couple feet. I think you can either drag it or you can just reassign this. I think it's probably an 8-foot ceiling. Yep, that lines right up. Okay, so now we've set our different levels for our project. Now I can go back to level 1. Now because I already set this up correctly in Register 360, everything is straight, and I created a coordinate system to square this up. But your point cloud might not be perfectly squared up. So just in case, I'm going to show you how to do this. So if I highlight the point cloud, I always have a rotation option. So there's this little rotation toggle that just by default shows up in the middle, and then anywhere around I can click and rotate. But one of the things that I do is I can create a wall straight up and down. I'm going to delete it in a second so you don't have to worry about any of the settings. But then what I do is I will line up a corner with the edge of this wall. I'll highlight the point cloud, use the move tool. I'll dial it in right on this corner, and then I'll snap it to the corner of this wall. And then I'm going to rotate this to be perfectly lined up with the wall. So I highlight the cloud, choose rotate, and instead of rotating from this point, I can actually drag this rotation point. So I'm going to drag it right to the corner here, and then I can choose my rotation azimuth. I would go as far out as I can on this wall. And then now you see as I rotate it, I can snap it right to this wall. And now my cloud is going to be as straight as it can be on that one wall. I'm going to delete that wall. There's no need to keep it. It's always good to know how to change the settings of your point cloud, and you can do that with the visibility and graphics panel. So this visibility and graphics button over here, you can also type VG and that'll pop up. And then there's this point cloud tab over here, and this is where you can see you can turn the point cloud off. You can just toggle it off, toggle it back on, and then you can toggle certain scans off and on, so that can be sometimes really helpful. You can also change the visibility. So this is the actual color of the cloud from the visual images. You can change it to a single color. Intensity is sometimes nice, but you have to actually set which colors you want. But I usually just keep it the RGB colors. And the last thing I do before I actually start modeling, you can see that as I hover over it, it kind of changes colors. So what you can do about that is select it, so you get this point cloud modification tab, and then pin it. and then there's this button where you can select pinned elements. I'm going to toggle that off. So now when you hover over it, it doesn't do this weird color changing thing, which I kind of think is annoying. All right, so now I'm ready to start modeling my walls. The first thing I do before I start modeling my walls is I make sure that I can really see the walls cleanly. So you can see in this view right now, I'm in the level 1 floor plan view, and I can see the floor and a bunch of stuff, and it's just not really super clear what the walls are. So basically what I need to do is adjust the clipping plane so that I'm just seeing a slice of through the middle of the building. So I'm going to go down to my view range here, and when you're in a floor plan, you can adjust the bottom and the cut plane levels to kind of adjust this slice. So you can see I'm right here at 0. At my base level, I can change that up to 2 feet. And you can see instantly everything's going to be a little more clear. So I can see exactly where all the walls are. If I want to make it even thinner, I can adjust this. I think traditionally you would go 4 to 3. That looks pretty good. I might stick with that. So I have a 2-foot slice. Maybe I'll do it even thinner. Yeah, so that's good. So I have a 1-foot slice between 4 and 5 feet. So you can see that everything is very clear. I'm not distracted by everything on the ground or anything like that. So this looks really good. I can see my windows. So this is going to be, I doubt that I'm going to edit my view range any more in this video. The only case where you might need to is if there was a window that was at a level where you couldn't see it here. So let's get started creating these walls. So I'm going to use my wall tool, and I might not know exactly how thick these walls are, so I'm just going to escape out of that really quick and use this measurement tool. Take a quick measurement. That looks like it's about 5 inches. That's interior to exterior, so that might not be a really good value to trust, because there might be siding on the exterior that we want to incorporate, or maybe not. It's really up to you, but this looks like 4 inches right there. Let's check a couple other places. Looks like 4.5. I might do a 5-inch wall all around, just to make things a little easier. So I'm going to do a 5-inch wall, generic, and I'm going to go from finish face interior, and I'm going to make sure the base constraint is level 1, and it goes up to level 2. If you had a ceiling set, then you would choose that. Okay. All right, so now I can go ahead and start, snap to that point right there, and then just go as far as I can up to this corner. I should have went directly down to this point and then over, but what I can do, which is a pretty nice trick with Revit, is that I can ignore that really for right now, and I'll show you how to edit that. It's really easy to edit that and make it correct. So this is the right there, and if I select that, I can first of all I can just change the direction like this, or I could use the down arrow and just nudge it into the correct place. So now I've got the exterior of the house, of the walls done. So now I can go ahead and continue filling in the interior here. that looks good. Gonna finish the garage off. Instead of drawing a new wall here, what I'm gonna do is extend this one out. And this is a little bit of an interesting case because the garage level is a little bit lower. I'm actually going to split this up into two separate walls. So I'm going to continue with a wall on this one. And then it's important that this wall is separate from these two walls. And I'll show you why in a sec. I'll create another wall here. And then it's also important that this wall is separate from this wall. Something that I like to have open all the time is this 3D view tab. And in the 3D view tab, I will usually hide the point cloud. So I'm going to type VG, turn off the point cloud. So I can kind of get a feeling for what I'm building in the Revit model while I'm doing it. So you'll notice that if I turn the point cloud off in the 3D view, it doesn't turn it off in the floor plan views. All right, so I've got all my walls drawn in, and the reason I wanted to have all the garage walls a little bit different is because the garage is lower than the rest of the house. So what I'm going to do is select all the garage walls, and instead of the base being level 1, I'm going to make it garage floor. So if I go into 3D view, I can see that the garage is a little bit lower than the rest of the house, which is exactly what's going on in real life. All right, so now all my walls look good. Now it's time to move on to the floor. To do the floor, I'm going to do the floor in two different steps because the garage floor is different than the rest of the house. But I'm going to use the architectural floor here. It reminded me to save the project. Go ahead, save the project. So I'm going to go ahead and use the architectural floor here. By default, it's asking me to pick on walls, which is what I'm going to use here. And this is just a generic 12-inch floor. Doesn't really matter. First, I'm going to do the garage floor here, and then pick on these walls. And it's putting it on the inside of each of these, which is what I want. I'm going to click Finish, and then it's put in my floor there. So if I just switch really quick to the 3D, you can see that there's a floor there. So then I'm going to do the same thing for the rest of the house, but I'm going to do that in one step. So I'm going to do another floor. And then this time it is on level 1. And then before I finish this, you can see that some of these walls are they're a little long, so I can edit these, and all of these have to be snapped. What I can do is I can switch this one to the other side of the wall. And then this is another one that I'm going to have to edit. And this is one I'm also going to switch to the other side of the wall. Because I'm not sure if it'll let me make my wall up to this line because this is where the garage floor ends. Let's see if it does. I'm going to click OK. So it did warn me. It said the floor overlaps on these walls, and then I'm just going to say yes. I want to join that geometry together. So if I go to 3D, you can see I have a floor on my house and a floor on my garage. The next thing I'm going to do is all my doors. Once I have my walls in here, you can see that it's a little hard to see the point cloud, but I can adjust that visibility. So if I go into my visibility and graphics panel, in the model categories, I can go down to my walls, and you can see I can change the transparency of the surface. So I'm going to change that basically to 100%. I want to see fully through it. And the lines, it sometimes can be helpful to make these as thin as possible. And then hit apply. You notice now you can see through, and you can still see the windows and everything through these walls. All right, the next step here is the doors. So before I start the doors, I want to import the type of doors that I need. There are a couple ways that you can do this. If you weren't on site, you can go through into your point cloud data and measure them kind of like this. And kind of get an idea of how big they are. The other option you have is that LGS file that's also in the download folder. You can use the free Jetstream viewer to open this up, and you can fly around the cloud and take measurements of certain things that you need, and this gives you a good idea of how big things are. So this type of file can be really helpful if you like if I needed to measure this door right here, I can take that measurement and this I find this LGS file to be extremely helpful, especially if you weren't the one on site and scanning. So this can give you a really good idea of which way doors swing, because that can be a little bit less obvious once you get the point cloud into Revit or AutoCAD. I already know what size of doors I need for this project. So inside of Revit, I'm gonna click on doors, and I'm gonna click edit type here. And then I'm going to load, what I want to load is the single panel. I've already got this loaded, but once you do this, I want all the 80-inch doors. So 30, 34, and 36. I do need a 32, but I'm just going to have to edit one of these two to be 32 by 80. Next up, I'm going to need to load a couple of double doors. So if you go into residential, this door interior double glass wood, I'm going to open that up, and then I'm going to choose the 72 by 80 one right here and import that. And you'll notice I have all my single panel doors and my double interior door. There's one more that I need to import, and then I'm going to need to load in this doors double flush panel. And then all I need is the smallest version of that. We're going to have to edit that one a little later, but that's all right. All right, so now I have all the doors that I need, and all of these doors are part of the default collection if you're using Revit 2020. This is the Imperial version, so you should have access to all the specific doors that I'm using. You can be a little more accurate if you want to import your own families, but I'm not going to do that for this tutorial. Okay, so now I can get started placing my doors. Revit is super nice because you can hop between different doors pretty easily. So I can see I'm going to try this 30-inch door. I can see right off the bat this door is not 30 inches. I'm going to try 34. You probably couldn't even go to 36 on this one. So I'm going to drop that right there. And that drops in that door, so that's super easy. If I go to the garage door, I'm going to drop that right there. This door goes right about there, but it needs to be mirrored over, so all I need to do is hit the space bar and put that door right there. This is too big for this door, so I'm going to drop down to maybe still too big, so this is a 30-inch door. Right there. This might be a little bit bigger. I'll try 34. This might have been a 32-inch door, so I might need to edit a door to do that one. So we'll come back to that in a minute. This one could be a 36-inch door. It looks like I could have slid that over a little bit, so all I need to do is select it, use the arrow key to make sure that that's in the perfect spot. This particular door is 2 swinging doors, so I'll come back to that in a second. So I'll continue on to this bedroom. It's way too big for this door. I'll try 30 inches. That looks like it's going to be perfect. Maybe it's 30. This might be another 32. I think 34 is going to be probably too big, so we'll come back to that. This is a tricky one because it was scanned with the door closed, but I can still see the edge of the door here. But this is one where I can't really tell which way the door swings from the point cloud in the Revit model. So I might need to go out and check out this LGS file. Just jump into the scan really quick, and I can see that the door opens into the bedroom towards this bedroom or this bathroom door, so it swings this way. So I'm going to create a door. Let's try 34 inches. Might be 36. Okay, that's perfect. Way too big. Still too big. Maybe a little small. That might be a 32-inch door. We might come back to that to fix it. This bedroom door is a swinging door, so we'll come back to that in a second. This bathroom door, I think, is super small. I think it's even smaller than this. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to edit this one. So in the edit type, instead of 2'6", I'm going to change it to 2'4". Click apply. Let's see what that looks like. That looks like it would be perfect. This one looks like it needs to be a couple inches bigger. (2'10". perfect right there. The last door I need to do is this door right here for this closet, and this wasn't open when I scanned, so this is another time when I'm gonna go back to the sitemap and so that opens outward towards the kitchen. Oh, actually, it looks like I forgot to draw in this wall. So I'm gonna go back, do this wall really quick. Okay, now I can place this door. Might be a bigger door. Just like that. Okay, so now it looks like I have all my doors. The last one that I might also consider a door is this garage door. I'm gonna have to import that really quick. So go to door, and then I'm gonna load, it's in the residential tab. I'm gonna load this one right here, this embossed panel. And there are two options. This is the bigger one I can see. So when I put this in, you can see it's going to line up right with these two pieces right here. Right there. And just to check things out, I'm going to go over here to my 3D view. Now I can see that the garage door was obviously put onto the ground floor when it should have been the garage floor, so I just need to go back, switch that to garage floor, and now that looks perfect. I can also see in this model so far I've got all my doors, and they look really good. I still need to add a couple double doors here on this wall for the closets. So let's do that right now. So I can see that this double door is way too big. What I'm going to do is just measure out approximately to here. Let's call it 3.5 feet. So, oops. Three, 6. So now when I put this here, that's going to line up perfectly. For this one's a little bit too big. That might be 3 feet exactly. So I'm going to edit the same thing. This particular door isn't exactly this type of swinging door. It's one of these doors that crumple up as you open them. But in this case, I don't have this kind of door in the default family, so I'm just going to use this as a place mark. For this particular closet, I didn't get enough scan data in this area to know exactly what kind of door this is, so I'm just going to guesstimate this and use that as a placeholder. Okay, so everything looks good here. I've got all those type of doors. The last thing I need to do is my glass double doors that go outside. So I have this this type of door right here, and I believe this is the right size. I'm not sure if these open in or out. This is another time that I would use this Jetstream viewer. Might be easy to see from the inside. I'm pretty sure that they open inward. I think they actually might be sliding doors. I'm not sure if I have those in the families, in the default families. So I'm going to use these double full glass doors, and I'm going to have them opening inwards. And these the default size should fit well for both of those. I'm going to check. Everything looks good here. So this is looking good. The next step is the windows. Ideally, you'll already have a good idea of the type of windows and the dimensions that they are. If you really want to do things properly, you'd make sure that you have the exact families for each particular window type and import them into Revit. This particular house doesn't have windows that match the default families that come with Revit, so we're going to have to edit a few. Go ahead and go into your window tool and then click on Edit Type. We're going to load in the Windows folder. I'm going to load in Window Single Hung. And then I'm going to find a couple of windows that are the closest to the dimensions of the windows that I have. So I'm going to load something close to 36. I'm going to do 34 by 36, 38 by 36, 38 by 56, and 38 by 52. I click OK, and then now those are added in here. So now I can go start adding these windows. I'll go back to my level 1, and in here I can see that there's a window here. If I want to get a rough idea of how wide this window is, I can use this. It's about a 3-foot window. So this might be I'll try this 34 by 36, and I'll place it right there. Now right away, I can go in and check this window out to see if it's in the right place vertically. The easiest way I've found to do this is use the camera tool, and I can place it in the living room here, and then I have to drag out the point of view to see how far this camera will see. So I can place it this way. So now I can see the point cloud data, and I can see my Revit model here. So I can see that things are not quite lining up. The window is quite a bit bigger than the window that I placed in there. Using this little toggle, I can move around, so I might want to look down a little bit. Okay, so this is obviously not the right window, but this view makes it really easy to swap out and test different things. So I'll try a little bit bigger of a window. Makes it a little wider, how about a little taller? So that might be pretty close. What I'm going to do is click on it, and then I can use the down arrow to drop that in the right spot. So that looks good right there. Now I'm going to go back to my level 1 and place another one of these windows right there. And then just to double check, I can go back to this 3D view. Can look this way. I can see I placed it a little high. I can just drop that down a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Back to level 1. All right, so now I'll move on to a different window here. This one in the kitchen is, I think, pretty small, so I'm going to try this one right here. I don't have to be fully committed to it when I place it, because then I'm going to go straight into my new camera view and look at what I'm working with. So I can see that this is pretty close to the size, but I might want to move this up a little bit, and it's a little, might be a little tall. So what I can do is go in, edit the height down to, it's probably right, but let's try 2 foot 10 inches, just to kind of show you how you can edit these things. So let's call it that good right there. That lines up pretty well. Now I'm going to go back to my level 1, and now I'm just going to repeat this same process for each of my windows. All right, so now I'm done placing each of my windows. I like to jump into my 3D view and just have a look around to make sure that they all look like they're placed correctly. Pretty good, it's really starting to look like the house. The next thing I'm gonna do, which is a little bit more particular to this specific house, is if we check out this is the living room. And you can see that there's this big opening in the wall here. And then if I go into this room, there's also an opening in this wall. So we can model those right into our Revit model. So you'll notice that this opening goes all the way to the ceiling, and this one there's still a bit of wall above it. So I'm going to switch back to Revit, go back to my level 1. And you can see this in the point cloud here, which is, it's pretty obvious. So I need to create a wall opening here. So I'm going to click on this wall. There actually is a wall opening tool here. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click right on the edge of the wall there, and then right on the cloud there. So now let's just jump into the 3D view, and you can see that that opens it right up. For some reason it didn't go all the way to the ground. I need to make sure, oh yeah, the top offset, that's 0, that's 0. Base constraint level 1 up to level 2, apply. So now in the 3D view, yep, that looks perfect. So it's just that space there. Next is this second one. Click on that wall opening, same exact thing. Base offset, I'm going to set to 0. Let's see what that looks like. Let's do -1 for that. Okay, so that looks a little bit like it should, but to really dial it in, what I'm going to do is set another camera view. Now I can select this in particular, so now I can drag this up and down. So I want to drag it right up to the edge of that right there. And then now this is, I know that that's really, really accurate compared to the point cloud. All right, so now I've got all my walls in, I've got my windows and doors and the floor, and that's really what I would consider the base of the Revit model. So the next step is really to add all the details to really make this model come alive. All right, the next quick thing that I'm going to do are put in the 2 decks. So if I go over to the point cloud here, you can see I've got a deck on the front here, and then on the back there's a little landing right outside the back door. So now what I'm going to do is, first you can see that I can't see these decks in the current view that I have, so I need to adjust my view range. So I'm going to go down, adjust the bottom to 0, just to see what I can see. I can see some of it, but I might need to make it -1, and then I might drop this down to about 2. So now I can see the decks here. So I'm gonna just zoom in. I can see the outline of the deck, and then I can see the posts, which is also important. Same thing on this side. It's a little less clear, but you can see the individual posts and along with the outline. So to create the deck, all I do is use the floor tool. I'm going to use the floor, and then the key to this is this height offset. So you'll notice in the point cloud, there's a little bit of a drop. There's a little bit of a step down from the, if you walk out the front door, you step down onto the deck. We might not know exactly what that is, and you probably didn't measure it out on site. So what you could do is come in here to the point cloud and measure down to it, but there's another method that I'm going to show you right here. So I'm going to create a floor, and then I'm going to pick on, I can't necessarily pick on walls because there's no walls out here. I'm going to use a boundary. Going to use right here. All right, so now I've drawn in my floor. I'm gonna click the check mark, and you can see that my floor was created here. If I go into my 3D, I can see it's going to be automatically put on level 1 because I didn't put that offset in. Now to put it on the correct plane, what I'm going to do is go over to my 3D tab, and then I'm going to turn on my point cloud. So I'm going to hit VG to turn on my visibility and graphics window right here, and I'm going to turn on my point cloud. So now I can obviously see that the deck is way above where it should be, because I can see in the point cloud it's really obvious where it should be. So what I'm going to do is set my height offset. I'm going to do -0 space 6 inches. That might be too much. That looks like it was about right. So there's about a 6-inch drop from the house floor to the deck here. So that looks good right there. All right, now that I've got my decks created, a really nice aesthetic thing to add are the railings to the decks. So the first thing that I'm going to do is add my structural beams in here, and you can see the outline of these. Here you can see I've got 3 beams here, 4 if you count the one against the garage. I'm going to choose a structural column, and I loaded in a timber column. This can be found in structural columns, wood, timber, and then I'm going to load in 5x5 columns, maybe 6x6 just to be safe. And let's see, so this 5-inch by 5-inch should be good. Let's see here, I'll place it right there. Gonna make it going to move this up to level 1. I'm going to do the base offset as -6 inches, and then the top offset, or the top constraint, will be level 2. And now I'm going to continue with these same columns here. And then I can just highlight all of these. Make sure that their offset is -6 inches, and then the top level is level 2. I'm going to click apply, and then just check out my 3D view. These look pretty good, except that they extend through I might want to move these up a little bit just to make sure that they don't come through the front of the deck. And their base constraint can be level 1. I accidentally made it garage floor. Okay, so now that I have my posts in, I can go ahead and create my railing. So in the architecture tab, you'll see this railing tool. I can sketch the path here. And I can see in the point cloud that each of these railing bits, so I'm going to set my railing for level 1. I'm going to add in my 6-inch offset. And then I'm going to connect it to the house and then straight into this post. So that's good. I'm going to hit create. And then I'm going to create my second one here. Same exact settings. I can make sure I line this up right along the path of this railing. It has that same offset, and then click OK. I'm going to go to my 3D tab. And this looks pretty good, but one thing that's really important is to just show your point cloud really quick to make sure everything is lining up correctly. And it is. If this wasn't the correct height or something like that, you could go in, edit type, and then change the height. So if I wanted to make this 6 inches higher, I can see really quickly that that's not correct. I can see the line of the point cloud right here. So I can really dial this in and make this 3 feet. And I can obviously see that that's the correct height. The next thing I'm going to put on is the ceiling. The ceiling is pretty straightforward because it's the same ceiling throughout the entire house. Even the garage has the same, the ceiling's on the same level. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to toggle off my point cloud because it's just getting in the way and I don't need it right now. And I'm going to do a ceiling. And I'm going to sketch it using the walls. Use this one. I have to make sure all of these line up. I do want these to go to the outside of the wall. I'm going to swap that to the outside. I do need these to line up here, so I'm going to snap these just like that. Outside, outside. One thing I do need to fill in, I do need the ceiling over the deck, so I'm going to extend these lines out. All right, this looks good here. I don't need any offset. These are all set on level 1 with an 8-foot height, which is how high our walls are. I'm going to click accept there. So now I'm going to check out my 3D. So now I have this ceiling over top of the entire house. So that's exactly what I wanted. All right, the next step I'm going to do is the roof. So I'm going to go into my ceiling plan, and I can see a little, so I can definitely see the ceiling. I can see a little outline of the roof in some places, but not everywhere. So I'm definitely going to want to adjust this view range. When you're in the ceiling plan, this is where the top comes into play, the top constraint. This view depth, I'm going to say unlimited, and I'm going to change this to maybe like 11 feet. Let's see what that looks like. So this is what I wanted to happen. Now I can see the roof overhang on each side of the wall. So that's really going to help me in figuring out how far the roof overhangs. It is important to kind of get an idea of how the roof is shaped. So if we go into our 3D view, I'm going to turn on my point cloud really quick. So you can see that there's kind of two different roofs going on. There's this, I would call it this roof right here, and then a separate roof. There is a way to do this roof all in one step, but I prefer to do it in two steps and then connect the two roofs together. So first I'm going to create the first roof, and then do it by footprint. I don't want to do this in my floor plan. I want to do it in the ceiling plan. I can see that these aren't the same. The overhang is not equal on all sides. So what I actually did is I went into the Jetstream viewer and measured this out. So I just took a couple of quick measurements here. I saw that that's about a 2-foot overhang, and then on this side, it's about 2.5 feet. So I really need to keep that in mind when I'm creating this. So let's say that the overhang on this side is 2.6. And then when you scroll in here, if I'm on this side, I don't know if you can see this really light dotted line. It'll show up about here when I'm hovered on here. If I hover on the other side, it'll move to the other side of the wall. You can't really see it because it's lining right up with this line, but I'm going to put that there. And you can see that the line drops almost perfectly onto this point cloud, so you know that this is the right side. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. So you can see the blue line on the bottom here. If I hover over the top, it lines up almost perfectly. That's exactly what I want. And then these are defining the slope. So you see I have this checked here, and that means that on these sides of the wall, it's going to slope. On the other side, this is not true. So the wall is flush on these sides. If I hover over here, you can see this blue line on the outer side past the wall. That means that the overhang is a little too big. So this is where the wall has a 2-foot overhang. So I'm going to change that. Drop that one on, and then the same thing on this one. Next thing I need to do is make sure these all line up together. All right, so that looks good right there. And another thing we need to do is define the angle of the slope. But I might not know that right away, so I'm just gonna create the roof. I'm gonna quickly go into 3D, and I must have been, yeah, I actually created this roof on level 1. Let me just move that up to level 2. And so now I can see that this roof is pretty close to lined up, but you can see it's definitely the wrong angle. But this is really easy, especially with the point cloud, because I can look at this from the side and just drag this down until it matches. So that makes things super easy. If I want to try bumping this up a little bit, that looks good. I also, this particular house cuts off flush here, so you can change this to square cut. All right, so that looks good. The next step is to create this secondary roof and then just attach it into the first roof. So now I'm going to go into my ceiling plan and do the exact same thing. So I'm going to go to my roof, choose my two slopes that are overhanging by 2.5 feet, and just like that. And then I'm going to do my one that goes right there. And then this roof is going to intersect with the other roof. So I'm going to initially make it short. So I'm going to just connect these two lines. And then I'm going to trim these lines just to make sure everything's connected. And then I'm going to make sure this is set at level 2. And then I'm going to click OK. Let's see what this looks like. OK. It's obviously going to be too steep, just like the last one is. Just like the last one was by default. But I can just drag this down like that. I might want to raise it up a little bit. Okay. So then the next step is to connect this roof with the other roof. I'm going to toggle off my point cloud in this 3D view. And in the modify tab for the roofs, there actually is a connect button. So I can join this roof. I can join this line with this face, and then it automatically just joins these two roofs together.